Thank you for inviting me to talk to you today. It is a great privilege and I accepted it humbly. I must say I've been very, very impressed with all the great companies that IvyCap has been associated with, all the huge amount of work and new innovation that you've been bringing to the market. And therefore, I think of this as a true privilege given to me. While I'm sitting in Europe, I must say that I'm missing the energy and buzz of Asia and in particular India. In Switzerland especially, everything seems to work and there are very few problems to solve. And therefore, I think to some extent the innovation tends to move out and you get new ideas and new solutions much more from the Indias and the Asias of the world. Great to see what you guys have been able to achieve over the last few years. To come to the topic of the day and the multiplier effect, I think the biggest multiplier of the last many years has of course been the COVID pandemic. Having said that, with vaccinations going on, and we can see that from several countries in the world, vaccinations have reached a critical point. It has been reduced to an endemic. The people, while the infections continue to be around, the impact which it is having on people is of a much reduced manner. And I think, personally, I think that this will be reduced to an endemic as we go into 2022. It's important, of course, that all of us play a role in encouraging our teams, our colleagues into making sure that we are vaccinated and we continue, if needed, to get the booster doses before this is really seen out of the world. But I'm pretty sure with the availability now and the signs that we are seeing from the slightly more advanced vaccination markets like UK, like Europe, like Chile for us, this will reduce into an endemic pretty soon. But having said that, coming back to what I said, I think it has been probably the biggest multiplier, or I should say accelerator, to bring forth a number of multiplier effects across the world. A few days ago, we were at a board meeting and I asked one of our presidents who looks after one of our largest regions, of all the changes that we ended up making over the last 18 months, if it was not for COVID, which of these changes would you not have made? Which of these innovations you would not have followed through? So the gentleman thought for a few moments, went over all the huge number of things that we have actually undertaken and ended up saying none. He would have done all of them, even if it was not for COVID. But clearly, the speed of that would have been very different. And let me talk to you about a few of the things that this accelerator has put out for us. A whole battery of multiplier effects that have been put into motions over the last 18 months. Let's start with the most obvious of them, which is technology and the multiplying effect which it has had on all the businesses. And again, starting from the most obvious one, which is the channels of reaching out to consumers and customers around the world. Whether it is our own brand.coms, whether it's through the marketplaces, whether it is through the multiple other social media available now, which are being kicked into motion by a lot of manufacturers and suppliers to reach their customers. It's been fantastic to see how the new channels have come into play and are allowing companies like Bata to reach out to a new set of customers all over the world. But I think the other pieces of technology have been even more remarkable in my mind. Things which we've probably not talked as much about. The one let me talk to you about a few of them. A big one for us has been communication and collaboration. It has really helped us bring our communities around the world, in the 25 big opcos that we operate in the 70 countries that we sell, into making collaboration so much easier without the bother or the inefficiency of travel. All the time we would have lost earlier has all just completely vanished. We've been able to bring teams together to not only adopt new things, but adopt them at a speed which would have been unthinkable a little while ago. A huge multiplier effect in making us more productive. I clearly see, as we come out of this pandemic and move into the endemic mode, companies adopting this hybrid mode to work around the world. In Europe, we are already talking about allowing our teams in most roles to work out of home, even as we go forward for up to 2 days a week on an ongoing basis. A second big multiplier effect that technology has had for us, companies like us, has been on the inventory management. Just think about it. We have about 5,000 stores around the world. In each of our stores, we like to have about 1,800 to 2,000 lines of different designs that we use to offer to our customers to make sure that the wide variety of customers who walk into a Bata store are fully serviced. To make sure that those 2,000 designs are available in the right size for the customer, we very often have to stock upwards of 30,000 pairs in every store. Now, this is actually a pretty inefficient use of capital, making our inventory requirements very significant. As we moved into adopting more technology, the multiplier of being able to have one inventory has been hugely significant. Already in many of our stores, 15% of all service of orders for customers are actually coming from stock, which they are not holding in the store, which are actually being held in a different store in the same city or in another city, but possible to reach them within 48 hours. A huge efficiency of working capital, a huge efficiency of being able to get new designs, new styles to market quickly. A big change for us in the fashion industry, and I would think may well be true of a lot of other industries which don't have immediate satisfaction as a key for them. A second big impact of technology, actually third already, has been the speed of the innovation rollout around the world. As we went into the crisis, we tried out many ideas that we had on the table, but we had almost not had the courage to take sometimes to the market. Things like making WhatsApp ordering and WhatsApp video calling and chatting, video chatting, converting that into transactions, into actual sales for consumers, or putting our stores onto wheels and taking our stores to consumers' home rather than waiting for them to come to us. The COVID pandemic sparked some of these ideas into motion, but what has really helped with technology was how quickly this was shared, how quickly more of our teams got to know about it, and how we were able to adopt this as we went across the world. A fourth space, which has been very, very remarkably speeded up for us, has been on people policies. If you think about it, outsourcing of work started several years ago, but it was almost always on cost arbitrage. Whether it was manufacturing or it was BPOs, it was really centered on a cost arbitrage. But technology has been, and the COVID pandemic has been such a multiplier, allowing us now for the first time, moving into not just cost arbitrage, but really talent arbitrage. So we've been able to move roles, take advantage of the talent in different parts of the world, and make sure it can be applied to companies where the need was there. So give you a couple of examples. As technology came into big force, as brand.com and online ordering became bigger, of course, along with it came cybersecurity as a risk. Now, rather than making available cybersecurity experts in every locale, we were able to leverage the team that we had in India and make sure that we were safe around the world. But it's not limited to just, again, technology and digital cybersecurity. We've seen this happen for us in design, in taking our products to market, to be able to design collaboratively across two regions and bring it to production, bring it into systems, into the markets quicker than ever before and into more markets than ever before. It's even come into HR, where we've been able to take some of our lead practices from one market and apply them in real time into others. But if you ask me, I think one of the biggest multipliers of technology is yet to come. Something which I think the pandemic has shown us the way, but we will reap the rewards of as we go in the next couple of years. All of you have probably heard of WFH, the abbreviation we got all very familiar with, work from home. As things turn to semi-normalcy, as we start going back into a hybrid mode of working from home, but also working from office more and more regularly, I think a different definition of WFH is going to come into play. And that's going to be women from home. The multiplier that we were losing and deducting of all these years as women turned into mums, had more responsibilities thrust on them, and we were losing them from the workforce, I foresee them coming back in a big way. In the short term, of course, we are all familiar that the demands on women have actually gone up at home. And maybe we've even reduced the workforce, the percentage of workforce from women. Some of the statistics would tell us that. But I believe over the next 2 or 3 years, we're going to see a big revolution on this and find women from home being a huge multiplier for us in productivity, in gaining back all the talent that we otherwise tended to lose. While these have all been accelerated by COVID, I think the multipliers are here to stay. And as I said, the women from home is probably going to be one big one, which is going to outstay them all. Moving on from COVID, I think the other big multiplier that I have experienced in my career has been the experience that I've been able to borrow from one company to the other. I have been very lucky to be able to have work experience with 3 hugely experienced and hugely successful companies: Unilever, Vodafone, and Yum Restaurants, the owners of KFC, Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell. There's been so much to gain from these experiences, whether they were in India or in Europe. I was lucky to be able to work in both of those. Give you a few examples. Customer satisfaction at Vodafone, which I'm sure a lot of you have been gainers from. The whole idea of happy to help, which got started by Vodafone almost 15 years ago and got adopted by telecom and many other companies around the world, I had a chance to experience firsthand. And as I moved into my Bata role, we were able to bring that in and apply it in a big way. Or if you think about Unilever, the huge amount of independence that was given to young managers early in our lives, or the focus and discipline around innovation, the discipline around go-to-market, were again great experiences that I was able to learn from and bring into Bata. From Yum, when you think about a restaurant company which has 40,000 restaurants around the world, you think of the huge reach they have to be able to service customers across the world. But what you also have to remember is, and something which is not very obvious, is these are 40,000 factories as well. So to be able to produce great food, you need to have manufacturing discipline in 40,000 different cells. And that was an experience on how they go about the restaurant excellence that they are able to bring into each of those units. Was a great learning for me to bring back to Bata. So I've been extremely lucky to share and learn from this experience. And to me, that is by far the biggest multiplier that you can get. Unfortunately, not all of us will have the opportunity to work with such great teaching organizations. And more importantly, for many of you, you may not have the time to have your hair grayed by all these years to learn from. And therefore, I think the biggest experience multiplier for you is learning from other people, from being able to reach out to people in other organizations who are going through this and learn even more actively, network and learn from them. If there's one thing I would do differently in my 25 years of experience, or now actually 28 years of experience, would be to network more, to learn more, and not to be able to get a job necessarily, which is our small definition of networking, but actually to learn from the experience that my peers have had in different companies in completely different categories, in companies in different industries, but being able to learn from that. Recently, I came across an article about the impressive statistic that talked about the number of founders of the unicorns in India, which came from the IITs. I think it was upwards of 50% coming from the IITs. I'm sure it has something to do with the talent that goes into IIT and the education which is provided in these premier institutions. But I must tell you, having gained some experience and having spent some time in an IIT myself, I think it's the network post the IIT which has contributed in a very, very big way to this statistic as well. And I would really urge you guys to really take advantage of this opportunity, which I think you have through your networks in today's day and age with social media, but also with IvyCap and companies like them who are able to bring the network together and give us that huge multiplier effect to take into the future. So use that network, use it along with technology now in a more effective manner than we could have 25 years ago. With that, I would just like to wish you the best of luck and say, be ready. The end of this tunnel is very close. I know in many of the industries that you worked in, you've actually maybe even already benefited from what the pandemic has brought, the changes it has brought to consumers. But really, as we come out of it into the new normal, the light is shining very brightly on the other side of the tunnel. So be ready for that, and best of luck to all of you. Thank you.